And in this video, we will be talking about being a bad Christian, which, if you watched the last video, it kind of strangely just kind of floated together. If you'd like to know what the heck I'm doing, this is my Stream of Consciousness series, and I do invite you to go back to watch the intro video to understand what I'm doing. This is 3 straight hours of recording with no breaks, and I'm resetting my 5-minute timer to talk about being a bad Christian. This one is of particular interest to me because, let's just say, in 2008, I had a bit of a revelatory moment. My wife and I had been doing a home church. We were involved with large churches, and we did a home church for a number of years, and where we were kind of like the leaders of people like twice our age, and eventually I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I was really having that was my earlier dark night of the soul moment, where I was just like at a crossroads, and I didn't understand. It just didn't feel right. For me, I know that I was ingrained. God built me. It was built into my DNA to be vulnerable and authentic. But I just didn't feel that way when it came to my Christianity. And so I had a moment back then in 2008 where I really felt like God spoke to me. And he said, I want you, Paul, to stop trying to be a Christian. Instead, I just want you to be my son, and I want you to be who you are as you are right now, and let me worry about the shit that I've got. He didn't say that, but let me worry about the shit I'm ad-libbing that I got to deal with in you. And I was like, hang on a minute, Governor. If you're asking me to be the true, honest, authentic me without putting on any Christian mask whatsoever, I'm Scottish and Irish and French Canadian. Like, do you have it? Like, there's going to be a lot of colorful metaphors in here. This is not going to look pretty. And what I truly felt was him saying, let me worry about that. You just be real. No more masks. And I got to tell you, I had a very difficult time up to that point, and I mentioned this in the last video, trying to have conversations with people about Jesus. I mean, I was so aware of just how that name was so offensive, particularly in North America, or particularly in Canada, and just like struggling with how to circumvent all of this to introduce people to the guy that I know, like, and this thus began my season of being a bad Christian. And because I stopped from that moment ever trying to have a conversation with another human being about God, about Jesus. And one of the very first examples of this is I was sitting in the backyard of a kind of a well-known celebrity guy that most people would know of, and I'm not going to mention who it was, but he suddenly asked me, right while I was going through all this, he asked me about my beliefs. He was like, I'm very curious about what it is that you believe. And what was interesting is at the time I had started vaping, which that was kind of accidental, instead of smoking, because I had quit smoking, and then I started smoking again, and I was like, I don't want to smoke. I don't want my girls to see me smoke. And so, but this particular guy, he was handing me cigarettes, and I was like, well, to the Jews become a Jew, to the Romans become a Roman. And I was having a number of cigarettes with him, and at the end of this whole 2-hour conversation, he looks at me, and he says, Paul, I got to tell you. He said, I have learned, if someone comes up to me and wants to talk to me about spiritual things, I have learned the art form of being able to excuse myself from that conversation within 6 minutes without offending the person. And he goes, you've had me here for over 2 hours, and I am utterly fascinated. And here's the funny part. While he was saying this to me, I was so nauseous from the cigarettes. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed smoking, but I had quit at that point. So I was, really just trying to like be cool, and with the guys, we're having this conversation and not make him feel like he was a bad person for smoking. But I was so nauseous that I was like, that's great, man. We can talk about this later. I'm going green. I pull out in my car, pull out onto the country road, and vomit profusely in a ditch. And since then, I have not started a single conversation about Jesus ever. And I've had more conversations about him, about God, about spiritual topics than I ever had in my entire life since I stopped trying to be a Christian. That's that's got to be interesting. That's got to be something to that. And man, could I expand on that topic a lot more, but 5 minutes is up on that, and we're going to go to our next topic. My bowl has fallen over, but I think I'm just going to leave it that way. Okay, so, all right, this one's a good one. Education for 4 very different daughters in our next video.